Howdy, folks, and welcome to Fireside Friday, the show where we take a deep dive on a single song and see what we can learn from it. My name's Cary Nightingale, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Kevin Nebrich. Let's light this match. In today's episode, we'll be diving deep into 1997's Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger. The studio version features drums, bass, vocals, and layers of guitars, as well as credits for an organ and a violin, but they're subtle enough that I couldn't hear them. Kev, is this really just a song about puberty and teenage angst?
Well, Cary, I've listened to this song, 100 times, and I honestly have no idea. I did find a quote where drummer Evan Sult says, Flagpole Sitta manages to snag some sort of zeitgeist experience. I think it's a really true version of what it felt like to be alive, at least in Seattle, when we actually wrote it. The ironic remove and the innate suspicion of both the mainstream culture and the alternative culture, and the yearning to be part of something but not being able to get around the suspicion and self-loathing. And then the ba-bas are just also the joy of being alive. It resonates with a frame of mind that turns out to be more universal than I would have thought. It's both really upbeat and kind of savage and snarky at the same time. And I thought that was very well put. Now, I'm not from Seattle, and I was also 14 when this single was released. So I have no way to corroborate Evan's story. But the lyrics to this song are very fascinating. They're both simple and clever, outlandish and nonsensical. They neither tell a story nor carry a cogent message. But they're shocking and risque. And they're silly and they're harmless. Many remarks seem to be understated, while others seem to be overplayed. They're humorous, unflattering, and fun. The rhyme scheme is tight. The rhymes are sparse and often 2 or more syllables. The syllable count in each verse is very consistent, save for the last line of each, which varies widely. There doesn't seem to be an identifiable pattern in the use of internal and external details. And the result is a structure that feels purposefully inconsistent. Orderly, but with a dash of chaos to keep things interesting. My favorite line in this song is, "Hear the voices in my head. I swear to God it sounds like they're snoring." Cary, do you have a line that you really appreciate in this song?
Well, Kev, I know that you don't care for it, but I'm partial to running underground with the moles, digging holes. It just sounds clever and kind of fun to me. Like most of the lyrics, it's a tongue-in-cheek exaggeration, but it's also the line that's least likely to punch down. Unless it's a very obscure reference to some 90s band I don't recognize, or just a very oblique reference to Hans Moleman from The Simpsons. No one's gay for Moleman, indeed. But the lyrics aren't the only thing about Flagpole Sitta that's stuck in the 90s. There's a very strong college, alternative, post-grunge sound to this track. To discuss the composition, I think it's important to start with what's most obvious. And here, I'd say that's the rhythm. It's predominantly a straight quarter-note stampede, and it's played at an energetic about 146 beats per minute. That's the foundation. It's reinforced by the bass line, which is mostly just the root note of whichever chord's being used at the time, played steadily on every beat. A catchy hook, certainly for me, is when the band opens up some space in the middle of each verse to hear the bass fill. That fill is over the home chord of D, and it's playing the 4th followed by the major 3rd. Better music theorists than myself could probably tell you that it's a very satisfying resolution of something that had been suspenseful, but I'll just say it sounds cool because it's higher notes on a very punchy, overdriven bass, and it helps break up the monotony of all those root notes. The other thing that sounds cool here is the layering of the guitars. There are at least 3 electric guitar overdubs just in the intro. Well, okay, the one in the right channel might be an acoustic. Regardless, it gives a very full sound to have hard panned guitars, especially when they're not playing identical parts. This track doesn't get a proper solo, but the scratchy dive bomb that links the bridge to the third verse is a welcome addition, as is the pitched up and tremolo picked interpolation of the main melody during the final chorus. The thing that elevates this track to iconic, or at least memorable, status, though, is probably I'm not sick, but I'm not well. It's incredibly catchy as a lyric, and it's only used 5 times in this track. 2 of them are just immediate repeats in their respective chorus sections. But it's even catchier with the Turtles-esque ba 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 backing vocals that you mentioned earlier. But that's where things get subjective, isn't it? The catchiness. So, Kev, I think we should have a fireside chat about the subjective appeal of this song. But that'll have to wait. It's time for a short break. This one's brought to you by Black Forest Grizzly Gummies. Now with that caffeine kick to get you through your darkest hours. Grizzly Gummies, truly the stuff of night bears. We'll be right back. Howdy, folks, and welcome back. As promised, it's time for a little fireside chat. Now, Kevin, I'm not sure that we fully nailed down what this song is about, so tell me, what does it mean to you?
I don't have an answer for you, honestly. I sincerely can't make heads or tails of the thing. It's fun. It's crazy. It has this energy to it. It's poetic and inappropriate. All good things.
I think you're on to something there. Maybe it's actually heads and tails. The initial appeal is that it's moody and just a little edgy and maybe even frisky. A line like, "You told them all I was crazy, they cut off my legs, now I'm an amputee, god damn you," is an exaggeration that lashes out at authority with probably the same angst that you and I would have had as teenagers. And that's probably a reason why, when we were in those headstrong and formative years, we liked Flagpole Sitta so much. Nowadays, though, with the benefit of age and wisdom, we can read the lyrics and identify a number of possible messages, meanings, and themes. In verse 1, the first half, you've got anxiety, maybe even body dysmorphic disorder. Then in the second half, it's about masturbation. Then in verse 2, the first half is grandeur and contempt. The second half is incompetent authority. The bridge has got, hipster culture, exclusion from the in crowd, a bunch of 90s music references. And then in verse 3, first half is about paranoia. You can tell because he's singing paranoia. And then the second half is about inadequacy of the narrator.
That's an excellent breakdown, sir. It certainly is a mixed bag, and the songwriters attempted to capture a variety of intense emotions, it seems.
Yeah, it's almost like there's something for everyone. But tell me, what did you think of the repeat listenability value of Flagpole Sitta? And really, how well would you say it's aged over the last 20-odd years?
I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that question specifically. Repeat listenability for me is very high. that opening chord progression really draws me in every time. And the song itself is like bottled anarchy. I love it. Despite the 90s references you mentioned, all the feelings that it brings up and all the emotions it tries to portray, I think it does an excellent job of that. But tell me, would you skip this song if it came up on a playlist?
Not likely. It's earned its spot in my rotation based on both my nostalgic connection as being probably one of the first music videos I ever saw when we finally got cable and therefore MTV, and for the respect that I have for the craft that went into forming this song to make it so damn catchy.
I almost wanted to say, would you change the station on the radio? And you just dated yourself with your cable TV, MTV reference. Did we just get old, Cary?
Afraid not, Kev. It's been happening for a while now. But ultimately, I rated Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger at an 8.1 out of 10 on the TuneScore scale. As always, we invite and encourage you, our dear audience, to give a listen to the track we discussed today. It's on our TuneScored Tracks playlist on our YouTube channel.
While you're there, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of our score and critique. If you're an up-and-coming songwriter, that's also a great place to recommend one of your songs for a TuneScore and some good old-fashioned, honest feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
We've had a lot of fun today, and we hope you did too. That's been Kevin Nebrich. I've been Cary Nightingale. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay sound. No one's gay for Mole Man. It's the line.
What are you referencing?
Hans Moleman from The Simpsons, like I just said in my script.
Got
I just read what's in the script, man.
it. Okay, go.